Friday, everybody. Here we are at Restoring Venus with me, Amy Eicher. I am your chronic pain coach and best-selling author, and I'm here with you live today to talk about headaches. I did a poll in my Facebook group a little bit ago asking what people wanted to learn about. And so there was a number of people that said, tell us about headaches and chronic pain. And I said, certainly. So in the description of this video, you will find a bunch of links, and one of them is to the blog post on headaches. I didn't want to go over everything in the blog post because, you guys can read, but let's hit some highlights. So let me first start by saying I don't mind pain in other areas of my body, but when it comes to headaches, I am like the biggest headache wimp that there is. And with long COVID, I have experienced prolonged periods of what I'm going to call head pressure, because it felt like pressure from the inside out, not like other headaches that I have experienced throughout my life, which more feel like squishing. But I know that we all have different experiences with headaches because headaches is pain, right? Interestingly, I think that headaches are a phenomenal example of how we can have severe pain and all kinds of symptoms, but that there doesn't have to be tissue damage, right? Like our head is not broken like a bone. It's not weak. It's not out of alignment, right? Like there's all kinds of things that are not true about headaches that we often apply to other parts of pain. As I was researching this blog post, I learned a lot of new things, but one of which is that headaches are considered the sixth most disabling condition. So like if you're thinking, you've got bad headaches and you're thinking, well, I just need to toughen up, maybe reconsider. So there are two types of headaches. There is a primary headache where the headache is the problem. And then there's a secondary headache where the headache is a symptom. So like for me, long COVID, my headache was a symptom. My daughter experiences migraines. That's a primary headache. And according to Harvard, there are over 300 different types of headaches. What? And only 10% of those have a known cause. So that's a whole hell of a lot of headaches that happen that medicine doesn't know why they happen, right? And the good part is, I say this all the time, but we don't necessarily have to have a diagnosis to know how to help ourselves. We need to know that it's not a brain tumor. We need to know that worms aren't growing in our brain. Sorry, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy. But we need to know that we're safe and that nothing nefarious is happening, like a brain tumor. But those are in most cases, those are very easy to rule out, right? If you are curious about secondary causes of headaches, Mayo Clinic has an extensive list on their website, and I've linked it in the blog post, which I believe is restoringvenus.com/headaches. Okay, so let's talk about the most common type of headache that people get, and that is a tension headache, also referred to as a stress headache. You guys have heard me talk a lot about stress in the last several months because it is really bad for pain anywhere. It's bad for IBS. It's bad for internal cystitis. It's bad for headaches. Stress is bad. It's bad for us, man. It's just not good. So we need to manage it. But one of the things that is, it's the most common headache of all, and it's a tension headache. And you can either have episodic, which means sometimes, and apparently, medically, that's less than 15 days a month. So less than 15 headaches in a month, tension headaches in a month, is considered episodic. Chronic tension headaches are when they happen more than 15 days a month, which sounds delightful. They are most often caused by muscle tension. So here we are again. We are back at the nervous system controlling the tone, the tension in our muscles. And if we are, I keep using the term, but if we are unsafe in our environment or inside our own heads, this leads the body to brace, to get tight. So what do you do for that? Well, there's medications for that. You can take muscle relaxants. They help some people. They don't help others. But the brain is literally what controls how much tension we have in our body at any given moment during the day. Utilizing breathing techniques, stress relieving techniques, those are the kind of things that are going to help relax your muscular system so that it's not squeezing the bejesus out of your head. Now, on my YouTube channel, I have a variety of breathing exercises, and the internet at large is full of them. I mean, a plethora. And it's a great place to start because you need no tools. It costs no money. And all it does is take you listening to the thing, right? So I highly suggest starting with some breathing to try to relax the you that is you. I am also a huge fan of progressive muscle relaxation, which is where you tense and release various muscle groups. This is particularly helpful for tension headaches when you learn to squeeze your shoulders and pull them back and make all kinds of funny faces, tensing the muscles in our face because we often forget about those. But they can often, tension there can often lead to tension headaches. Then the other thing you're going to have to do to deal with tension headaches is you're going to have to deal with your stress. So whether that means getting better at communication, whether that means learning to feel anger in your body, it could mean a million things. Maybe it means confronting your boss. Maybe it means getting a new job. Maybe it means reorganizing how things work at home. That is for you to decide. But I'm going to say that since stress is a major cause of the pain from tension headaches, we're going to have to learn to cope with it. The literature says that anxiety is often a trigger for tension headaches as well as fatigue. So we haven't gotten enough sleep, which generally makes our nervous systems cranky, or we're experiencing anxiety, which I don't know a whole lot of people that feel safe when they're experiencing anxiety. So to me, both of those things point yet again to we need to calm the nervous system. All those things we can do to a baby, right? All the other videos that I've talked about, those things. We got to calm the nervous system if we want to put a dent in the headaches. When I was in a period of my life under immense amount of stress, I did experience what I think were cluster headaches. And holy wow, this was another level of pain. They're 5 times more likely in women. Shocking, I know. But they occur multiple times a day, sometimes throughout the day. They can last from 15 minutes to 3 hours. The pain comes on at usually roughly the same time during the day, and it's usually at night. It ends as suddenly as it begins. It usually rapidly increases in intensity and rapidly increases or decreases in the same way. After these things, you kind of feel like your head has been invaded and you are exhausted. It's usually one-sided, and you can have eye pain, droopy eyelids, runny noses, restlessness, agitation, nausea, sensitivity to light and sound. So if that sounds familiar, one of the little known facts is that high flow oxygen, as soon as you can after that headache that cluster type headache starts, can improve your symptoms. Amy, how do I get high flow oxygen? Well, you got to talk to your doctor about that, which would mean you would need a diagnosis of cluster headaches. Or you can do like a cheat And that is that you can pick up one of those like cans of oxygen used for athletes. I have seen them at my local Lowe's, and I use them when I was not doing awesome during long COVID as supplemental oxygen because our hospitals were packed and there was no way I was getting in. So that's a fun fact. Little can of oxygen. And everything feels better because our bodies really need oxygen. Okay, so we've talked about tension and cluster headaches, which are primary headaches that are not like an autoimmune disease, right? They come on. We don't really know why they come on. They come on and then they leave. We don't know why they leave. It's inflammation in the nervous system. Migraines are classified as a neurological condition. It is not tension. It is not stress. It is a neurological condition. Migraines stink. Usually they're worse with physical activity, light, sound, smells. They last for at least 4 hours and can last for days. And about 12% of people in the United States have this genetic disorder. Great, huh? 20% of the people that have migraines will often get what's called an aura, and that's change in vision, wobbly lights, wiggly things, flashing, tingling, sometimes a little bit of trouble with your speech, and that's because it's a neurological condition. It's not tension in your muscle, okay? So migraines are often mislabeled. So this would be a great time that if you are really struggling with headaches and like you've done all the things and nothing's really working, it is worth pausing and wondering if you have been mislabeled, right? Because if you've been mislabeled, then you need to go to a neurologist, get the proper label, and then get on proper medications and proper treatment plans. Because a migraine and a tension headache are not the same thing. They are not treated the same way. Will breathing help all of them? Well, sure, but only to a point, right? Now, in all of those cases, there's no damage in your brain, even though that's where you hurt, okay? And I would like to make a side note on the migraines. I did work in a vestibular clinic for a little over a year, and you can have vestibular migraines. So it is a headache that may or may not have pain, but it makes you dizzy AF. Just saying. So if you are having periods where you feel like the world is spinning underneath you, I strongly suggest you get to a physical therapist that specializes. It's like what they do at the clinic. And go see a vestibular PT because they are going to be the best type of person to treat dizzy of any kind, but especially if it's, they're going to be able to help you figure out if it's vestibular migraines. So what causes headaches in general? There are triggers for everybody. And in my blog post, I linked like a diary that you can keep to try to figure out what some of those triggers are. Consuming alcohol, especially red wine, can bring on headaches. Let me share a story. So when I was in my early 20s, I was on staff for a youth organization called Young Life. And we had adults in the community that worked with us to like make the ministry go. And we were kind of getting like etiquette classes because, you know, we're meeting with all these people with lots of money and going to these fancy experiences. And, you know, I'm quite content in my flannel and my blue jeans because it's the 90s. But we had to learn like which forks to use, and we had a woman that was teaching us all about wine, and she had some of like the best red wines, right? So like she's got all these expensive red wines, and she's teaching us how to swirl the glass and sniff and all the things. And she had given us a particularly like what is it? They put them in the barrels and like they age in the barrels, and it was a particularly aged red wine. And within, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, I felt like somebody had stuck a knife through my head. I got nauseous. Oh, it was so bad. I really thought I was going to throw up because the pain was so bad. And headaches can do that. The pain can be so bad that you want to throw up. Like it's not about the headache. It's about the intensity of the pain, and you vomit from it. Especially common with migraines and cluster headaches. But in my case, it was red wine. Well, I had to go, I couldn't finish the tasting. I had to lay down. I thought I was dying. I was like, what in the world? And the woman doing the presentation eventually explained to me, she said, well, Amy, you should probably never drink good red wine again, because it was the tannins in the barrel. And I don't understand what tannins are. You're going to have to talk to somebody that knows wine and stuff. But I do know this. I love whiskey. And I like beer. And if I drink beer that has been aged in a barrel with red wine, because they do that sometimes, if I drink a beer like that, I get a mild headache. I still don't drink red wine. I'm almost 50, and I don't. It's been 30 years. Every time I try it, I get a headache. So I know that for me, a headache trigger is red wine. So I just don't do it anymore. Fermented foods are often a pretty common cause. So that can be fermented foods, and then chocolate, cheese, increases or decrease in caffeine. I would also argue that caffeine is addictive. So if I don't have my morning cup of coffee, I get a headache because I'm having a withdrawal response to caffeine. Artificial sweeteners, skipping meals and having low blood sugar, changes in sleeping patterns, exposure to secondhand smoke, strong odors, increased blood flow from exercise or orgasm. Those are things that, you're driving more blood, and that can change things. Certain medications, headaches are a side effect. And of course, as I've already mentioned, stress. So learning to keep a headache diary to kind of figure out what it is that creates your headaches is a great way to start to manage them. I knew somebody once that had to be convinced to keep a headache diary, but was surprised to see that it was the diet sodas that he was drinking that almost always coincided with a migraine attack. So once he learned that, he had to make the decision, do I want to keep drinking diet sodas, or do I want to not have headaches? And and then you get to decide, because now right? Now you see these things, and then you get to decide whether or not it's important enough to change it. So one of the other questions that I got was, well, how do I know, okay, so you've told me my head isn't falling apart. It's not, nobody put an X in it. I'm not in danger, but when do I know if I need to seek help? And I think that that's an incredibly important question on this topic. So anytime pain is interfering with your normal life and you cannot go about doing the things that you normally do, well, then we should probably talk to somebody, right? Because there's a difference between needing a pain coach like me to help you manage, and then finding new tools that an MD has for you, right? So if we haven't gone the MD route on the headaches yet, and we've tried the breathing and the de-stressing and those things, then we need to do the MD. If we've done the MD and we have a diagnosis and we're still struggling, well, then that's an appropriate time for a pain coach. But anytime you've got a headache with fever, confusion, trouble speaking, trouble breathing, head to the ER. Head to the ER, head to the doctor. We don't mess with fever and mental confusion, speaking difficulties. We don't mess with these things. We go see somebody. If you have bumped your noggin, you fell off a ladder, you tumbled down the stairs, you cracked heads with somebody when you were wrestling, go see the doctor. You could have a head injury. Don't mess with that. And concussions. Man, do they have headaches that come with them. Sudden and severe that doesn't go away. That would be a great time to go see a doctor. As I said, dizziness and loss of balance could be a vestibular migraine, could have some stuff going on in your vestibular system, so go get that checked out. That will probably take the physical therapist that specializes in that or like a neurologist that's really good with dizzying headaches. I'm sorry, it's the way that it is. Personality changes, new inappropriate behavior, go see your doctor. Yeah. New changes in visions. Because I did know somebody that got vision changes with their migraine, like they went tunnel vision. Like their vision just came in. It happened every time. So it wasn't new. So even though it scared me, they were used to it. So that, like, they already knew nothing dangerous was happening. But if that's a new symptom to your headache, that would be a great time to get a medical checkup. Make sure everything's okay. So how do I get rid of it? You got meds, you got stress management, you got calming your nervous system, you've got breathing, right? I know you're shocked. Like, isn't it strange that the answer for how we manage these things is all the same? We learn to slowly expose ourselves to things that are triggers if we really want to continue to do them. We learn to do body scans to find tension and relax it. We take medication as prescribed by our doctors when they say it will help. And most of all, we remember that at the end of the day, it's not tissue damage. It's a cranky nervous system. It's a neurological condition, if it's a migraine. And that there are things that we can do to lower the occurrences, lower the intensity, but we've got to figure out what's causing them by keeping that diary and then making changes. Thanks for being with me this afternoon. I hope that this was informative to you. If you would like to know more about chronic pain and how it works, in the link in the description, I have put up a link to my free course. You get 30 days free access, and you get 4 hours of content. I hope that you will enjoy it. And if you're interested in coaching with me, I am currently running a special right now called Lightning Coaching. It's 15 minutes of coaching for an entire year. You get unlimited 15-minute sessions with me as long as you do your homework. More information can be found in that link. And as always, if you've enjoyed this content, please like, share, tag a friend. And if you want to continue to support the free content, go ahead and just buy me a coffee at that link. I will see you all next week.